We good to go? Okay, it's going. All right. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Centric podcast. It has been a while since we've done something like this, so I'm here with Bryan, Daniel, and Chris today. We got the whole crew together. So before we start talking hockey, I want to kind of talk about my day today. Everyone wants to know how my day was. No. So this morning I had the opportunity to go get a tour of the Bruce Oak Recovery Center in the west end of Winnipeg there, and Bryan and Daniel were also in attendance. We were able to see the facility that has been something that's very important to a lot of us at Centric, a lot of our friends, a lot of the people who are contributors to the podcast. So it was really great to see that today. We did some volunteering for an event they're having this evening. I know Hockey Night in Canada has been a great supporter as well. So it was very special for us to be able to do that today. And we're very excited to see what the center does for the community. So we're really happy about that. Our friends from Vertical Adventures were also there. Our sponsors, more importantly, our friends, they were terrific. Make sure you guys check them out. You know, you've heard our little spiel before, but we can't say enough good things about them. Great facility, great people, following COVID rules. It's a great place to go with your kids, great place to go by yourself, all kinds of different levels of coaching and all that available. Check out Vertical Adventures, go to their website, go on their Twitter, super friendly people. They'll field any of your questions about, going there and seeing what they have to offer. So now we're going to start talking about hockey. It has been a while since we have done an episode like this. We are doing just a bit of a roundtable, no interview, no proper theme. We just want to talk hockey. The Jets are on a 6-game losing streak. It's been a bit of an interesting past few weeks. It's been an interesting season, of course, but there have been quite a few storylines. So I think we'll just jump right into it. I don't know, maybe I'll throw it to Daniel to start and just sort of talk about what we've seen in the past couple of weeks and what's going on with the Jets right now.
Well, we've probably seen mostly the same team that we've seen all year. Just everything's catching up to them right now. Hellebuck is not playing at his MVP Vezina Trophy winning self right now, and that clearly shows. Even more so with the lack of defense they have, and they haven't been able to score. They haven't been getting any bounces, any luck like that, which is just the way it goes. So I think they've been just all their luck and anything that they had has been catching up to them, and it had been even before when they were winning those games. They were on, what if they go on a 4 or 5 game winning streak? Those weren't necessarily domination wins. They just kind of won because Hellebuck was great and they just potted a few goals, right? So basically the same team we've seen all year with the addition of Jordy Ben. Pretty much that's about the only change. Of course, Heinola got in for 1 game. That was their last win, actually, a 5-2 win against Toronto. So take that for what it's worth.
Missing Ehlers big time too, though.
Missing,
right?
Yeah. Nikolai Ehlers. They lost. I think he's been out for a couple of games now, 3 or 4 games. They lost all of them.
Too many.
Yeah, 1 game's too many to miss the best Jets. So
yeah.
So yeah, pretty much all the same.
Yeah, personally, I do think it's been quite stark. The difference in offensive generation without Ehlers. He kind of does it all out there. But yeah, it's kind of upsetting to see that they're not making any changes with the losing streak. Like, I can handle a losing streak, like they'll happen during the year, but you got to work to try and fix the problem. And to me, the Jets just haven't done a good enough job of that.
Yeah, that's something I kind of like. It's one of those things, like, our podcast exists to field the opinions of fans and just, talk and have people listen and whatever. But I'm never going to say that I'm smarter than an NHL coach, but I'm very much confused as to why we're not changing the lineup, like literally at all, when it's the most important time of the year to be winning. And you were changing the lineup when we were winning, just, find some new combinations and stuff. And now that we're losing and sucking and everything is going wrong, you're leaving it as is. And I don't understand. I don't.
I mean, I haven't been on for a while for a reason. And this is the whole thing, right? I mean, we can talk nutshell. This is what it's been, blah, 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 blah. But this is exactly the things we talk about with Paul Maurice. And I don't want to spend an hour here shitting on the guy. We're going to, because right now I think he deserves it. And I think I think we're all kind of the opinion that we're at a make or break here. 8 years, blah, blah, blah. I think there's something happening, I would think. But these are the things that you can't understand. We've talked before about the lying to the media, lying to the fans. We've talked before about the putting in not so good players instead of players that might be good and all of this stuff. And this is what we're seeing right now. He's stubborn to the point where this is his lineup for the playoffs. These are his guys. So these are the guys that are going on. I don't care if they're losing. This is what our guys are going to, this is the lineup we're going to have in the playoffs. So I'm not trying anything else. That's what he's thinking. And yeah, Lyss, you're exactly right. Why are you trying things when you're the best team in the division 2.5 months ago? And now you're literally, let's be honest here, you might not even make the playoffs.
Yeah, pretty sure they'll make the playoffs.
It's pretty tough.
The odds
Right.
are pretty well in their favor there, but still,
But had you said this 3 weeks ago that we would actually be even questioning it, you'd be like, what the heck? Like, not even close. The fact that it's even up for debate's not the right word, because this isn't an argument. It's a yes or no, you make the playoffs. But the fact that there's a possibility that we won't, no matter how small the possibility is kind of
the fact you haven't clinched at this point almost.
Yes.
Or that we're even thinking, right? That it's just a thought of missing.
That's right. And 3 weeks ago, we were like, can we catch Toronto? And now we're like, we're going to play Toronto.
Yeah.
And so that's all of it, right? Again, yeah. Are they going to make the playoffs? Of course they're going to make the playoffs. Unless Connor Hellebuck breaks his leg, right? Or something like that. And then, you know what I mean? But it's just all of the things that we've been upset about, all the things that we've been tired of are just showing up so clear right now. And it's so hard. I'm joking wearing my Coyotes hat right now, but I was cheering against them last night. I've had about 3 times since they've been back where I've actively been like, I don't want them to win. And right now, I don't want them to win. I want them to lose every game to the rest of the season. I'm worth that for Paul Maurice to get fired. Lose them all. I don't give a shit. They're not fun to watch anyway. So
you got that right, yeah.
Where's the enjoyment?
Yes, that's true. That would be worth it, I think, for me too. If that's the way Maurice gets out of here. I mean, granted, like, who's his replacement going to be, of course, but at least get him out. I mean, obviously, I don't want to see them lose that many games, but if that's the only way, sometimes you got to take it or leave it, right?
This is kind of a random, like, whatever this is. Do you know off the top of your head or anything, like, when, like, is there like a record for a coach being fired so late in the season and still making the playoffs? Like, I understand that all of these circumstances leading up to it almost makes sense and it's possible that it happens, but there are literally like 7 games left in the season and we're going to make the playoffs. Like, I feel like that never happens.
It would never.
Well, Montreal
did.
They fired, Montreal did a couple of years ago when Boston had fired Julien. Montreal hired him late. It wasn't like the last week of the season or anything, but it was fairly late in the year.
Well, in my memory, I think it was Pittsburgh fired what's his face?
Bylsma.
That's the one. Bylsma hired was
the young
Mike
guy.
Sullivan?
Yeah, Sully. Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember if there was another guy in there or not, but
that was the smartest move
I think it was
made.
Sullivan, and it wasn't that long. Like, it wasn't as close to the playoffs as it is now, but it was probably at most 20 games left in the season.
Well, and that almost computes because of how short the season is. Like, it's not the same as 7 games left in an 82 game season. So that's interesting. Yeah. And
I'm not sorry.
No. What I was going to say, I sorry to interrupt you, Lyss. The difference is, and this is what I've been the last couple of times I've been on the podcast and where my frustration is on Twitter, and I'll reiterate, when we're having these armchair GM and armchair coaches sessions like we're having right now, I wish that we would all not have them from our perspective, that we would have them from the franchise's perspective. Yeah. There is a 0.00 chance that Paul Maurice is getting fired in the next 2 weeks. That's not happening. I don't care if they lose every game the rest of the season. That's not going to happen.
It doesn't even necessarily like firing him now or firing him after the season. I don't know if that makes such a huge difference, but at this point, I don't think keeping him around is really the answer.
But this is what I'm saying is True North doesn't play. They play games, right?
Yeah.
Like we talked about before, he's going to get promoted. Then they're not going to hire a Gallant or a pro. They're going to bring up Vincent, or they're going to move Lowry over to be the head coach or some bullshit like that. We always, like, Bryan, you're a perfect example of it. I love it because you're so smart. You're like one of the smartest dudes on Twitter.
Oh,
But when you
thank
put your lines out, you're putting them out as Brian Johnson, not as a dummy like fucking Paul Maurice. You know what I mean? And so we know there's no way on earth Blake Wheeler's ever playing on the third line, and we've been saying it for 2.5 years. So it's almost, and I know that's no fun, right? Being an armchair GM and doing it their way. What I'm saying is that when we think about it and we have a real discussion, you have to think of it in their terms. And there's no way they're firing that guy unceremoniously. They're in love with him.
Well, and
It's just not happening.
With so many things, like we talked about all the time with like the predictability. It's like, this is what I would do, but this is what I know exactly how it's going to go. And it's like the same thing with the expansion draft. Like now I'm of a different mind. At the beginning of the season, I would have said expose Morrissey because they're probably not going to take him. And if they do, maybe it's not that big of a loss, but it's like one of those things, never in 1,001 years,
never
going to happen. Never, never, never. So I do understand, like, I know for myself, like my favorite way to be a fan is to say this is what I would do. Again, I'm going to reiterate that I don't think I'm smarter than anyone, but it's just that's my favorite way of being, you know, analyzing games and feeling like I'm really involved in them and stuff like that. But I know how this organization works. We all do, and that's just the way that it is, and that's okay. Like that's what they do. But it does take a little bit of the fun out of being an armchair GM.
It does 100%. Although it does make you like work in like retro or something, you know what I mean? Like, okay, if I weren't so smart, what would I be doing? Or if I did have a heart, because I think that that's the game they play. They think that loyalty is the way to go. You know, so maybe there is something to it. They're better people than I am, maybe, because I treat it more like a video game. But like I always say, it's show business, not show friends, right?
To get it a little bit into the details though, like we mentioned the same stuff over again. He has his guys, his lineup that he wants. What exactly was it that made him decide that Jordy Ben was the better option than Ville Heinola or even Logan Stanley? Like Logan Stanley,
he's 33 years old.
He's a veteran. Like that's the only answer. You can't dive into it any more than that.
I like these painful exercises, Lyss.
What's the guy that talks all the shit about Mike Babcock, the Commodore, Mike Commodore?
Yeah.
We have to find a Paul Maurice guy like that. Like
Toby
a former
Enstrom?
player.
Toby
Yeah,
Enstrom.
exactly, right? Like the guy that's like, this guy's a crap stain and like he's always done this stuff. We need to find that guy, right? And it'd have to be a young guy. Or Dustin, but yeah, or a young player that just never made it. Like Marco Dano in 10 years will write an autobiography about all the crap that he went through or something.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Nick Petan should be a regular in the NHL. Like he might not be a top 6 forward, but he's not worse than a bottom 6 forward.
You're telling me Nick Petan on the top 2 lines in Ottawa right now wouldn't be killing it?
He'd probably be a decent player there. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know.
Think that's a spot for a guy like him right now. A young team, no pressure. Just go out and set up these young guys, and who cares?
He's had some half decent results, like when he's gotten nice in Toronto, but
the Leafs fan love him. Yeah, the Leafs fan love him.
I don't really trust their opinion on anything, but on that one, I do agree with them. No, but I was gonna say, like, I want to go back to the whole loyalty piece, and I think, like, to me, again, I thought that I'm smarter, but that's the only thing I can come up with that is keeping Tucker Pullman on the top pairing right now, because otherwise I just don't understand it. Like, he just kind of drew the short end of the stick for quite a while in the first bit of his career. Like, he just couldn't quite crack the top, and now that he's in the lineup, they're like, thanks for sticking around, our guy. Like, I don't know why else, because holy smokes, that man is getting caved night in and night out, and I feel bad for him. There's a point that I cross where I get mad at players, and then when I hit the top, the peak of being mad, it drops down, and I start feeling bad for them because of the situation they're in. I feel bad for Tucker Pullman.
Here's what I think about Tucker Poolman. He's a guy who he does some good things sometimes,
Oh
but
yeah.
his mind just isn't all there. But because he can do really good things sometimes, I do think he can be effective. You know, in a role that he's not getting 22 minutes a night or whatever it is.
Against Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I
Yeah.
do think that he could be effective in this lineup and in most lineups, but
put your
that's not
best
the
shutdown
matchup.
guy out there. Like put Dylan DeMello on
So
that.
That's
but isn't this the whole thing that's been going on the last, like, well, I mean, it's been going on a long time, but this fight fire with fire mentality that Paul Maurice has, right? There's two lines against two lines or against four lines. So you either get caved by the other team's third and fourth line because they're better than ours, or you get shit kicked by the top two lines, right? When you
Or
could be
both.
doing right, or both. When you could be, when you've got all these forwards and you could be going four lines and doing the same thing to them. Okay, fine. McDavid's running us out the building, but guess what? Our second, third, and fourth lines are way better than Edmonton's
Yes.
Yep.
talent wise. So how is it possible, even if McDavid's getting 2 points a game, how are Stastny and Connor and all these other guys not outdoing? I couldn't even tell you one player in the bottom six of Edmonton right now.
Alex Chason.
Right, because he's better than Andrew Kopp.
He's terrible.
I can't remember who it was. I think they had like Gaetan Haas or something on
Gaetan
their
Haas is
second line, like the
yeah.
other game.
And you're like, what's this guy doing out here, right? Like,
Well, and then James Neal is playing in like a shutdown role. James Neal can't play defense, and like he's in their bottom. Like, and what do they have?
This is the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's the same thing with the defense. Why are you? I mean, there's clearly a problem with Morrissey, and instead of trying to, even out your defensive pairings, you're doing what you think is loading up your top pair or your top. You know what I mean? And it's just also backwards. Like why did we get all this talent if you're not going to use it? Even on defense, again, we know most of these guys are fourth and fifth defensemen. But if they're all the same, why are you relying so heavy on these other two guys? I just don't understand the mindset of the two lines, the checking line, and the guys that don't play. I just can't that don't even kill penalties.
Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around it. Like
in my opinion, like the way that I kind of look at it is like it's more complicated than this, but you could almost just match your second lines against someone like Edmonton or Toronto, and then flip your 1 and your 3, match your third against their first and match your first against their third. So then your defensive line is playing defense and your offensive line has the room to go and play offense. Like, I just think it all, like you said, they're fighting fire with fire, and our fire is a lot weaker than theirs. So I don't know.
And we were talking the other day too on Twitter about I'm going to lose my train of thought here about not the fire with fire, but shit, I knew I'd lose it. Sorry, go ahead, guys.
I just think we're like, as far as the way our team plays and the construction of it all together, like just how they play, I just think they're a very poor matchup for the Oilers specifically. Like not the whole team. Like they should be able to beat their bottom six, but in terms of actually playing against Connor McDavid, what you need to do, like you can't stop Connor McDavid. What you can do is try and spend as much time as you can in Edmonton's zone, because that's where McDavid does struggle. I know, easier said than done. McDavid has the puck literally most of the time, but you need to have that defense activation and getting like everybody involved as a 5-man unit offensively. That's how you're going to beat the top players in the league, not just Connor McDavid, but you want to spend as much time in that offensive zone with possession so they can't do their thing, and maybe create some offense out of it yourself. And it just goes like, you need everybody to be playing as a 5-man unit. That's pretty much it.
Well, and
Which
I think
is
that's
what
one of the
happens.
things that plays to Edmonton's strengths is that they have Tyson Barrie and they have Darnell Nurse, who, people are talking about, put them up for the Norris. No, but they're pretty good offensively. And when you have defensemen who are good at that, like, it's easier to, maintain the puck in the zone. Like, we struggle to get the puck out of our zone and we struggle to keep it in theirs. It's like, there's gotta be a better way.
Well,
That's
it's
how
like you got a Ville Heinola that's now in the on the taxi squad again.
Is he?
It's like, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's
He's
like,
such a
what are
freak.
you doing? This is your transition guy who is going to get super involved in the offensive zone and make some pinches. Get him in there. What are you doing? And
Well, they got to be sound defensively, Brian.
and yeah, I know.
But they're not.
Well, they are, but they don't think they are. Like, I don't know.
No, the
Maybe
opposite of that. They think they
I
are,
don't
but
know.
they're not. That's
Or
they
oh,
think
like
they're
the
playing
guys.
their game.
Oh, the guys
But-
that are in there now, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I got you. I
Yeah.
thought you were talking about Hainala. It's like, I think he's going to be. He's very aggressive. He's going to make some mistakes, but like that, every player makes mistakes, right? And I think
Oh,
the
yeah.
good is just gonna.
Except for Adam Fox. Adam Fox has never made a mistake in his entire life.
He's insane, that guy.
I was gonna say my train of thought there was about this fire with fire and matching lines and all this shit. I'm just gonna say it. Proof is in the pudding with him matching his lines. The fact that we're better on the road than we are at home, isn't that
Yeah.
enough right there?
That's
That
been
what
like that a
he's
few
doing
years
is-
as well.
Pretty damning, eh?
That tells you all you need to know. He doesn't know how to match things. What he thinks are the strengths or the weaknesses, and vice versa.
It's
That
just
was like
overthinking.
that reminds me that specific like this whole fire with fire or whatever. There's one game, must have been recent against, it was either Edmonton or Toronto. That's all they played the last month, it feels like. But they were down just 1-0 after the second, and they were running the Lowry Cop whatever line, Appleton against Matthews or McDavid line, and they were doing fine. They were only down 1-0. He pumps out in the third period. He puts the Scheifele line out against Matthews, and it's 2-0 within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And then it's over in the third period. It was over. I think they lost like 3-1 or whatever. So,
And-
but they were
and
only
let's-
down one goal, and it was just
Right.
panic. Get the top guys out. They can try and score, but they never touch the puck.
And let's not forget, he said it too a couple of weeks ago about they had such a great 17-18 season. I know what they're capable of. Are we living in 17-18?
Well,
No.
we have one defenseman from that team, and right now he's not close to what that
He's not close to
defenseman
that
was.
level. Yeah.
And he
Like,
was like
oh.
the fourth best. He was pretty good that year, but Bufflin was better. Sherwood was better. Like he
You
wasn't
could
even our
argue
number one
you
guy.
could argue Enstrom was better too.
And
He
it's- I was
was
about to
he was
say,
the fourth defenseman on that team, probably, if you look at it
essentially,
quick.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and then I wanted to talk about something. It was about the line matching. Oh, where was I gonna go with this? Oh yeah, and then this goes back to the loyalty piece too. I feel like I've heard over and over again that Mark Scheifele wants to play with the best. He's a very competitive person. And I feel like that plays into it. That guy is always on the first line, and he's always playing against the first line. And we've been negative. I'll say something positive. I do find that when Scheifele's on the ice, he kind of does a lot of the time when he has possession. He really does pick kind of the speed of the game. Like it kind of goes according to his watch when he's on there. Like I think he's been better in the back half of this season and stuff like that. But I think that comes down to it. Like, he's been here since the beginning. He's been here for 10 years and he wants to play with the best. So they're going to let him play with the best, even though that's probably not what's best for the team. Say best one more time.
Yeah, they had said that. They had actually said that game that I was referring to, it must have been, they had said that Scheifele knows he's like whatever, one of the best players on the Jets, and that he wants to play against the best lines, and he hates seeing that Lowry is getting all the minutes against the top line or whatever. They had literally referred to that exact, like when that happened. And then the Jets ended up giving up that second goal and killing the game there. But they had actually mentioned that specific, literally what you just said.
Yeah.
Like,
So Patrick Laine is a selfish player because he wants to score goals. That's
Yeah.
something he's good at. But Mark Scheifele is the best because he wants to play defense, something he sucks at. But he's a good leader because he doesn't swear. These are the things, man.
Like
this
it's
loyal.
more gray than that, but when you look at it,
Yeah.
it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating, especially when that attitude drives a generational talent goal scorer out of town.
But it's the whole thing. Like, and again, it's not even a shot at Mark Scheifele. Mark Scheifele is their best player, right? Other than Connor Hellebuck. Like, let's be honest, right?
Healers.
Obviously Ehlers is. you know what I'm saying.
No,
He's one of the top players on the team. Yes.
Whatever.
Yeah.
He's the best or second best forward on the team, period.
Fair.
And he's really good. And I like having him on our team and all that stuff. It's not his fault the coach continues to throw him out against Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. It sounds like what Lyss is saying is maybe it is his fault, though.
I was gonna say, isn't it though?
Yeah, if
Maybe
he's
it is
asking,
his fault.
if he's
Maybe he needs
asking
to
or
shut his
suggesting
mouth.
it, whose fault is
Right.
it? But that's when a
Well-
good coach would be like, no, you actually can't
Exactly.
because
Like-
you suck at defense, right? That's
It's like you can't blame a player for wanting to just be the best. Well, I guess we can with Patrick Laine, but I don't blame Mark Scheifele at all for wanting to play with the best. I don't like being the one to blame the coach, but in any case, I would blame the coach in that situation for letting it happen. If it's
because
hurting
they
your
can say no, right?
I wanted to play AAA hockey when I was 15. Guess what? The coach of the team that I tried out for didn't think I was good enough.
So he said no.
He said no. He didn't say, okay, well, you want to play here? Sure.
Like that brings actually a thought back to when they brought Hendricks back for that second time there. And he said he did his like return interview and he was like, I know I'm only going to be playing 5 minutes a night, but I just enjoy playing, right? It's one of those things. And you're like at least he knows he's not good, right?
Self-awareness is key, right?
Self-awareness.
I don't know. It gets frustrating. Like we talk about beating a dead horse or whatever, but you're at this point, this breaking point. And people talked about 4 or 5 years ago about the Jets turning into the Calgary Flames. We are the Calgary Flames. We've got lots of good players and we have nothing to show for it. And we're not going to have anything to show for it. This team isn't signing a free agent defenseman away from winning the Stanley Cup next year.
That's becoming very clear right now for those of people who did believe that. They're seeing
I
that. Yeah.
I
They're
said
saying
that before the
yeah.
trade deadline. That
Of course, yeah.
right.
Which is
Ekholm
fine.
was not any answer to any problems. One defenseman wasn't fixing anything. You need 3 defensemen to fix what's going
I
on
think
back there.
it's the whole
Or-
way. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think you're going to say what I'm going to say. Or
Okay, I was
you need
gonna
to change the
say-
system.
It's the whole way the defense play. That's
Yeah.
like, and yes, I know like most of the guys they have aren't going to be guys that are going to be heavily active in the offensive zone, like Forbert, Stanley, Poolman does get in there sometimes, but most of those guys aren't going to be hugely involved in the offense. And I do think you really need a lot of that from your back end, especially on this roster. You don't have anybody like a Bufflin, even like a Trouba, and I didn't like him overall as a player, but even like a Myers in terms of getting involved in the offensive zone.
Myers was always active in the O zone, which is something that was about all he was good for.
Yeah.
You knew once they were in the O zone, they were good. They were good in the O zone when he's there, right? That's
And
Like,
having that, I think, really would increase, I guess, the impact of the forwards as well.
yes.
Just from having more opportunities to
It creates
score.
more space, right? If you have
We're
that
running
defenseman
3
coming to the hash
forwards.
marks and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, like we're running 3 players in the offensive zone, whereas a lot of teams run 5. And
And
like
then-
obviously, like people are gonna be like, oh, the defenseman, like they touch the puck. I know that, but you're not seeing. All they do is pass it to the other guy.
They just hand grenade it over, right? Every
like,
time.
it's not effective or anything. But and I think the thing is too, like this is getting more into like the whole fan perspective of it and stuff. And again, like you said, we harp on the coach a lot, sometimes too much, mostly enough. But that's what we're here for, right? Because a lot of the people who are employed by the team, they can't say that, so that's why we're here. But then there'll be people who are like, we've made the playoffs in the past 3 years or whatever, and it's like, okay, first year that was great, good for them. And then you get kicked out by a team. Oh, they won the cup. They also fired their coach 4 months before we played them in the playoffs. Like they were not doing well, and they beat us. And then the next year we barely made the playoffs, and this year we're barely going to make it again.
That's
We
the-
didn't make
yeah.
the playoffs
We
last
didn't,
year.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then I always bring it up. Joel Quenneville won 3 cups in 6 years. His team started to suck and he got fired. Like just the mediocrity is so accepted by
And
everyone.
Maurice has been
Don't
here
know.
for what is it, 8 years?
8 years because we
Yeah,
don't know any
0,
different.
yeah.
And we haven't sucked. It's the mediocrity. Like it's like whereas Toronto, like they were just god awful for so many years. Like that sucks. I get it, but like people are like, oh, but like we made the playoffs, or oh, we don't have a losing record in like 5 years or whatever. It's like, okay, but what do you have to show for it? Nothing. So that's why we're frustrated. Like,
Look at what happens when you get 60s and 70s your whole life. You turn into a mailman at 43. Like, this is all you get for mediocrity in high school and no university. Seriously, great. I never
it's an
failed
analogy
anything
for
without
sure,
trying to fail it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you're doing well.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who do look at the like complete record and think, okay, all of that can be 100% attributed to coaching. Well, can it? Like, look at the 2019 season. That's like the biggest point for me in particular. Like
December
that,
of 2018.
yeah, so that's kind of when it all went downhill, right?
Mhm.
So Ehlers and Bufflin get hurt. That's huge losses, obviously, but that was when the Jets really stopped playing the game that was working and really went to systems that really don't work and don't complement the skill of our team whatsoever. And they just kind of stuck with that, I guess. Now, after when they lost, Bufflin traded Trouba for Pionk and a draft pick, and well, you know the whole story.
And I think that year too, that was the first time that I ever considered Blake Wheeler to not be an elite top line player or whatever. And then again, nothing to show for it. It didn't matter. Like, obviously it doesn't matter what I think, but everyone saw that. Like, he's still an effective player. But the fact that there's been a noticeable significant decline and absolutely no modification to the usage is very concerning as a fan. Like,
yeah. Then you go to last year. Last year they were dead last in the NHL in expected goal differential. Connor Hellebuck dragged them to what, 20th or something overall in the NHL as far as points percentage goes. And people go, oh, well, they made the playoffs. Well, no, they really didn't. I mean, they were very close regardless, but they did that on the back of Vezina goaltending. It's not like that has anything to do with the coaching.
It wasn't a St. Louis Blues kind of situation last to Stanley Cup. It was Hellebuck dragging them by the ear up to whatever.
And they did that with a very talented forward group.
Yes, and it's still the same forwards.
I know the defense was bad, but the forwards are still very good. You weren't as bad as Detroit. And you weren't as bad as Ottawa, like as far as roster wise, but the results as far as the shot metrics go, which I think you can use to evaluate coaching better than you can use a record to evaluate coaching. You were at the bottom of the league. And
you've got, sorry, Brian, but you're hitting on what is something I was thinking when you first started is then you've got all these fans that say, yeah, but they lost so many defensemen.
Well,
right. Then why aren't you changing the system to your shitty defensemen?
Like, all you have is forwards who can score. Play a game where your forwards can score and don't make them play defense and don't make your stay-at-home defense. Like, oh my God.
Or stop with the man-to-man crap and start letting them play zone.
Yeah.
I think what they needed to do last year was play like it was even more imperative last year. They needed to play super aggressive, make sure the puck was never in the D zone. Give up some breakaways once in a while because you weren't stopping anything in the defensive zone once it was there.
And might as well give your goalie a one-on-one, then
go all out offensively.
Which is how they play on offense. Which is how they play on the other end of the ice. Which is funny, right? They're the ones that don't do much and then score.
Yeah.
Like they let it sit, give up the possession, and then go score on 2-on-1s and 3-on-2s. So it's funny that they don't see the way that it could work the other way, right? Because that's how they're most successful, is giving up. Like last night, there was a couple of shifts. Perry, Stahl, and whoever the other guy on that line, they were in the offensive zone for a minute and a half, just dancing around. And it's like, how come we don't do that? Like you said, because they don't activate the defense to help. But, how come a lot of times our goals are scored off of that, where we take the puck then quick up, and then Wheeler and Scheifele score a 2-on-1 or something. It's like, well, if it works for the other teams, why isn't it working for us?
And a lot of it too, I think, comes from the fact that, like, again, this isn't like a systems thing. Like the whole dump and chase piece, we're so bad at retrieving the puck that you never get any zone time out of that. It's just a battle that you lose in the corner, and there's no time that comes from that. Like, think about highlight reels that you see. It's like a tic-tac-toe passing play that Matthews finishes off. None of that. Like you said, they come off of the rush. They come off of special teams, like whatever our goals. Like, we don't have like the typical, the standard, enter the zone, make some passes, shoot the puck when it just, I don't know, it doesn't really work for this team.
AJ and I used to talk about dump and chase. And we used to talk about, what if you were playing basketball and you got the rebound and then you just huck the ball down the court and then the players try and run and go get it.
That's the
right?
chip.
That's what they're doing. Right. It's the same thing. What sport would you ever do that? Or punting on first down in football? Okay, go recover the punt and maybe we'll get it. You know what I mean? It's so, dump and chase is so stupid. Oh
Yeah,
man.
I guess there's a time for it, and it's not nearly as often as,
Sure.
yeah, like
can
Right.
be good
Yeah.
there
sometimes.
isn't offside in basketball, but I totally get what you're saying, and it is really funny.
Like, here, we just got the puck, you take it. We don't want it.
yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah, like, and okay, why don't we see, like, are there any positive things that we can talk about? Because I feel like we're bogging it down a lot. And like, I agree, because I'm so frustrated right now. And like you said, like, I almost cheer against them, and I feel like a terrible fan for just being miserable. Like, I don't even feel any joy from watching these games anymore. But
right now anyway, like, I'm not cheering against, like, I totally fan the way you want. I'm not
Mhm.
going to
Absolutely.
tell you how to be a fan. I'm never one of those people. I can't cheer against the Jets, but
Can
now
just let me
I
point
can
out
be
one thing?
indifferent. I'm
Can I-
indifferent. That's the way I'm gonna put it. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Can I point out one thing? But you can keep going. Just that I've been a fan since 1986. So I've got a lot of years invested in this.
Yeah.
Since I was 1 year old.
Exactly. And almost as intense of a fan as I am now, I was when I was 10 years old and 11 years old and 13 years old.
Totally.
So it's tiring. And I jumped, as we know, we've talked about on here before, I jumped to the Coyotes for the 16 years we didn't have a team. So that was just as rewarding.
There you go.
what a disaster goes on down there. Like, holy smokes. They should fold that franchise, move them somewhere else. I don't know what's going on down there.
Sorry to
But-
interrupt you.
I feel like I forgot what I was saying. I forgot what I was saying.
Well,
You're-
I am very convinced. Like, I am of so many minds when it comes to Pierre-Luc Dubois. I feel like we haven't mentioned his name once yet this episode, and that sounds very
Right.
unlike me. So I'm going to talk about him. I'm of so many minds when it comes to him, because people, I thought, overhyped him a lot when he got here, and I was like, guys, like, let's relax a little bit. Like, he's good, but he can be really good. But then people were like, he's a bust, and I was like, hold on, like, don't say that. Watch him play the game. He's not a bust, like, but he's also not like going to be the savior of this team and stuff. But I think come playoffs, we're going to notice him more. Like, I think in these past couple games, like, I think he's been fine, and I think he's been one of our better players. Like, he hasn't looked as awful to me as a lot of our players have over the 6-game losing skid, and even before that too. Like, I think he's actually looked pretty good. So that's my positive. Go Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Yeah.
I'll actually add to that. I think I pointed out him and Pro when they got together, whenever the heck that was. But I pointed out that one shift that they had. I was like, that's like Dubois right there. Like, that's what he does. He can get into the corner, whatever, and control the puck. And that's kind of what we should expect from him, is to be kind of that. Once they're deep in the zone, like that's what he does. And playing him with Perot, I think they're a great combo together, to be quite honest. I can think of another pair on the Jets that would be good, like Dubois and Perot, for what.
And that's one of the
style
positives that I think has come from the Lowry injury, was that one. I don't know, like, obviously it doesn't really shake out, but I love the idea of running Scheifele, Dubois, Stastny, Lowry down the middle, 1, 2, 3, 4. I love that idea. I think it's great to split up. You share the wealth so much, because then your shutdown lines that are centered by Stastny and Lowry can still freaking score goals. Like, I think that's a really good, like, setup. And I think, yeah, playing. So whether it's Stastny or Dubois on that third line with like Perreault and Dubois, I think that's one of those combinations that Bryan actually had in his lineups, like from the get-go, that he wanted to see those two together. And everyone's like, Bryan, that's ridiculous. That means either Dubois is playing in bottom six or Perreault is playing in top six, and neither of those are ever going to happen. But I agree. I'm a fan of the combination.
I would like to see, like, I like it, but like I think it's limited. I just think Dubois, and again, it's a symptom of the whole team, right? I think Dubois, same with Scheifele and even Connor to some extent. Like Connor's pretty good off the rush, but in terms of like set pieces, just the way this team plays, everybody's limited, right?
Yeah.
So, and then that's really what Dubois is good at, is controlling the puck in the offensive zone down in the corners, playing it back up high for a shot and kind of being there for a rebound. But again, the team isn't playing as a full 5-man unit, so it's kind of difficult for guys who are good at setting up in the offensive zone to kind of do their thing, right?
That's a good point. I've been wondering why they haven't, because they don't play the fourth line at all, why they're not playing 5-man units. It was something I thought about the other game. I've always questioned why you would have Scheifele, Wheeler, and Connor on the ice with Mark Stewart and, another bag of pucks, when you should have them on the ice with Bufflin and Trouba or something. You know what I mean? But especially now when your fourth line is literally not playing, why they're not doing more of that. That would be something that I would like more in hockey in general, but definitely from our team. There's a lot of outside the box thinking that you just don't see because it's the way they've always done it or whatever. I haven't been super impressed with PLD, but to me, this is one of those situations where the guy came in hurt. He missed some time. From what we heard, he was still hurt and probably still is. There is no setup for him yet as far as line mates and all that stuff, right? Because despite the jokes we made at the beginning, I'm of the mindset that when the playoffs came around, they were going to go with the 4 centers, like the 4 that we just mentioned. And he would have been a big piece of that. But my thing with him is I think he's going to come back next year and be the guy that everybody thought he's going to be. He'll be healthy and he'll come in and be like, oh, okay. Because that happens a lot when guys
and
get
he'll
traded,
have a new
right?
coach.
True.
And he'll have a new coach.
That's a good point, because they always say, when a guy gets hurt in training camp in a normal season, he misses the first 3 weeks or whatever. He's catching up all the time, right? Like that's
he had no, and they don't practice right now.
Yeah, and this year even more, like they played in whenever the season ended, and for Columbus, whatever, July or whenever the heck it ended, and then they were off, and there was no real skating at all, in that weird off season. They didn't know when they were coming back, and then he gets hurt, or he plays whatever, a couple of games in Columbus, gets benched, and then he comes here, gets hurt, and so he's like still way behind, and that's something that, and with no practice at all, with a brand new set of teammates, it's tough.
And no NHL experience either. Like, he is a child. Like, he is so young. He doesn't have 7 years to look back on and draw from and stuff like that. He's got he is fresh. So it's difficult. There are so many contributing factors to the fact, but
and this is the difference
in Columbus. He hasn't done much in Columbus either, and I know the coaching and the players he's with aren't necessarily the best. But Laine, what the heck does he have? 4 goals or something?
I think he's got 5.
No, it's more than that. But recently, it's not a lot.
He got off maybe a little hot start there. He just been crap since, right? It's the same kind of thing. I just think,
it's one of those things. It's like the baseball season's just started, right? And some teams are 7, 8, 10 games in, and oh my gosh, they're going to have a terrible season. Well, no, they just haven't started hitting yet. And other teams started hitting right off the gate. And it's sort of the same thing where certain things just haven't happened yet. And that's why I would never write off a guy like him. He just he's had a little bit of bad luck. He's had good showing and bad, but I'm not one of these guys who are like, oh, he's a bust or whatever. He's just not playing very well right now,
The
in my
sample
opinion.
size is so small. It's like the same people
That
who
too.
like,
Yeah,
are talking
true.
about how Hellebuck sucks because he's been average, not bad. He's been average NHL goaltender caliber for the past however many games. And they say he sucks. Look at the past 4 years. You want to take 4
Look at
okay games? Like,
Whole career.
like it just makes me want to listen to nothing that those kinds of people have to say because it's just a ridiculously boneheaded. Again,
Yeah.
everyone fans differently. I respect you, but like
But you're
No.
those
No,
blanks
I don't-
are ridiculous.
No. That's not one of those where you can say everyone fans differently.
No.
You're not allowed to think Hellebuck sucks. That's just
He's been
ridiculous.
top goalie.
You just don't know anything if that's what
Or
your
you're
opinion is.
or you're a terrible troll, like that you're even bad at it.
fair,
Like,
fair
you're
enough.
not even good at it because that's just absolute. Literally, you shouldn't be allowed to watch hockey if that's what you think.
If you want to learn how to be a troll, just take a look at us. You'll figure it out pretty quickly. Do what we do, and you'll get there. We
Yeah,
should probably
that's-
wrap this up. Does anyone have any kind of like going forward points? We just kind of harped on everything leading up to now, but do we have any kind of like, I don't want to say recommendations because that sounds ridiculous, but like just kind of like expectations, thoughts going forward?
Make some bloody changes. Like, I mean, just like play Ville Heinola or Logan Stanley. Like, do it. Switch DeMello into the top 4. Like, these are just the obvious things. Like, I don't know what you do with your forward lines. There's no obvious answer there, but
No.
play Dylan DeMello in the top 4, man, and give Heinola a shot there too. Like, Pullman and Forbort aren't cutting it there right now. It should be obvious. And DeMello is playing like an absolute, I don't want to say superstar because he's not a superstar, but he had one hell of a game last game, and he
had the
just
best
so steady every single night. Give the man his due.
I think we're treading in. Derek Forbort, the last like 25, 30 games, is in the worst Jets defenseman of 2.0 history area.
I don't know about that, but it's not good.
Like, I don't even mean in his own end, just the whole thing, right? The way he skates, the way he's lumbering, he's clearly not 100%. Like, it just looks bad. Whether you're talking numbers, eye test is what I mean. It's like, he just looks like garbage. Like, at least Mark Stewart was flopping around on the ice, knocking pucks into his own net.
Everything. No, that's,
You know what I mean? Like, he just looks like, just like, again, and this is not oh my God, he's the worst defenseman ever. It's get him out of there and get him healthy. He played
Right.
fine at the beginning of the year. Put in Stanley for him. Put in Niku for him. I don't care. Get him some rest so he doesn't look like he's literally skating in a body cast.
And I feel like that would also help Pionk too. Like, I feel like you're going to have 2 positives there. Like, you're going to have perhaps someone better, and then you'll bring him back when he's healthy and play some bottom pairing minutes or something. I don't know, but like, I feel like that happens a lot when you have, like, you know, Aaron Ekblad got hurt. People were like, is Mackenzie Weegar going to be able to continue putting up the same numbers because of the partner he had? And like, Forbort played with Doughty when Doughty was actually good, like all that kind of stuff. Like, I feel like it would be interesting to see Pionk away from him because we've seen him away from him at 5-on-5 for all of like 6 minutes this whole year. So I'd be curious to see how that would probably help him. I don't know though.
Yeah, Pionk's
And-
been outstanding.
Oh,
and
yeah.
going back to Heinola and Stanley and Ben, just the competition for number 6. Maurice said that they'd all get an equal chance. Heinola and Stanley played 1 game each, and it's been Ben ever since then.
It's a bold-faced lie. Like,
Yeah,
I
that's-
don't like to paint people like that. There have been lots of instances where it's like, oh, perhaps a miscommunication between coach and GM and media. That was a lie. That was a
Literally,
straight
yeah.
lie, and I was not impressed. It's not
And you-
because my favorite player didn't, like, my favorite of the 3 didn't get as much of a chance. It's
Doesn't
because
matter.
it doesn't matter who it was. If you say that all 3 of them are going to get an equal chance and then they don't, it makes you a liar.
That's right.
He didn't say if it would be the best player, though. He didn't.
He said
He said it would be performance based. He didn't say if it would be the best or the worst guy.
just the guy. That's it.
Oh my God. One day I'd like to have special guest AJ on so that we could go through the last couple of years of the lies, because I know he does keep a good record of them.
That
Maybe
might
that's
be a-
Maybe it's something we do after Maurice gets fired rather than
Like,
That'd be-
pile on right now.
oh my gosh.
greatest hits episode.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's just exhausting. And I know a lot of the guys now, there's 3 or 4 guys that are kind of keeping track of it on the timeline, you'll notice, that are like, oh, remember, here's the quote, and then here's the this and here's the that. And that's the whole thing. Like, just come out and say it. We like the grit. We don't feel Henel as a fit right now. We need to be tougher in our own zone, and we think we can create without him. Just
Does
say
he
it.
even show grit? Like, has he
No.
even shown that? Like, I don't think he has. I don't know.
Well, and these old hockey guys, though, their idea of grit is different than ours too, right? Theirs is, if you, and I'm not saying he does, but if they have a fight every 5 games, that means he's gritty. That's what people wanted in the Toronto players when they're like, they need some toughness.
Or
they
he has
didn't want
beard that makes them gritty, like literally.
Yeah, it's like, no, like, what do you want? Do you want like Brendan Gallagher gritty?
No.
Yes,
or do you
want Brendan Gallagher gritty?
Exactly, but that's not what they're saying. What they're saying
Yeah.
is they want Milan Lucic gritty now.
Ryan Reeves.
Ryan Reeves gritty.
Canny gritty.
Right.
Well, and I think the thing is too, like, actually someone brought an old Billick tweet from 2018 out. I don't remember who it was. It was just a Paul Maurice quote. It was one of those, like, it wasn't true. Like you said, like, if he came out and said, this is what we're looking for and that's why we're picking this person, maybe I wouldn't agree, but at least I'd be like, okay. Like, at least
exactly.
But, like, the lie. It's like, my guy, like, my goodness, like, you're giving out quotes for the media and for the fans. Don't lie to them, because then they're not gonna like you. Like,
but yet people are oblivious to it. The pom-poms are oblivious to it.
Or you go back to the start when about the young guys on the taxi squad, who's been sitting there all year. Like, there's been at least 1 or 2 of the top end, A prospects that have been sitting in the taxi squad or on the scratch list all year.
In the last calendar year, Heinola and Niku have played like 35 total games between the two of them.
Something crazy. Yeah, that's just
like
crazy.
Nola's played a whole bunch in Liga over the last 2 years.
Sure, but for your team,
like
for your two teams
in the NHL,
NHL and
not a lot. I don't, and like Niku is what it is. Like, I don't know if he's going to be an NHL player or not, but get Heinola in there at the very least. Like, he's dominated Liga 2 years. Well, I shouldn't say dominated last year. He didn't get all of the all the power play time and everything, but this year dominated as an all situations player in Liga. Dominated the World Juniors, came to the Moose and was absolutely stellar. I think he's done nothing but show he's NHL ready. So I don't get not giving him the shot, especially considering how weak our left side has been looking.
Yep.
Yeah, that's. I mean, and that's going back to what you said about Niku. Like, maybe he's not, but did he ever really get the proper look? He came out, he was the AHL Defenseman of the Year as a rookie. That doesn't happen. That doesn't, and he never. And you know what? Maybe it wouldn't have worked out, but he never really got the proper look.
Would have liked to have found that out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I want to know, right?
With 60 games or something. And again, as we've talked about, I'd rather Lyss, I'd rather Sami Niku make 7 mistakes over 82 games than Jordy Ben make 7 mistakes over 82 games. Like, for the extra goal against, I'll play the rookie that might actually help me going forward. That's always been my big thing, is like, how many goals are these guys costing you? And then how many are they helping you get? And at the end of the year, Sami Niku is going to be a more net positive than a Jordy Ben or a Forbort or something like that. That's always going to come out that way.
Yeah.
Even if he makes glaring mistakes, step out from behind the net and pumps it right up the middle onto Mark Stone's stick, he's still going to be better for your team at the end of the day.
Because he's going to move the puck out the other 9 times.
Right, exactly.
Whatever it may be. So, whereas Ben might
that Finnish expose writer, I can't remember his name, the one who puts all those hit pieces out. I want him to do something on Sami
Pekki Alonen.
Alonen, yeah.
Yeah. No, but I was gonna say, yeah, like, I think that's one of those things where, like, that was pretty much the first thing that Muradkash ever said to me, was that he cared, like, the thing that he cares about is the net benefits of a player. It's like, do they create more than they give up, whatever that looks like for that individual? And I think, even if you have, someone who fights, like you said, 1 in 5 games, does that win you the hockey game as much as proper zone exits and offensive chances and high danger chances? Like it doesn't. Like it doesn't move the needle as much as people think. So like, yeah, like I understand like the glaring errors, whatever. Okay, those don't always turn into goals, but like a fight doesn't turn into a win. So
Yeah. And that's my biggest thing. And that is just another way of saying, you know, I'll take the known bad player over the unknown could be good player. It's the same thing, except on an even more real level. Like, again, let's see Sami Niku for a full season, and then let's judge, is he really as bad as people say he is?
In the right situation too, right? Like when he got his chance, like his 30 games in 2018 or whatever it was being paired with Ben Sherratt on the right side. And yeah, I know they said he's comfortable on the right side or whatever.
Right.
But we saw the last 3 games he played this season on the left side. He looked a lot better, right? And playing with
and
an
it's your
actual decent
asset.
partner.
It's your asset. Why don't you want him giving him the best chance?
He should have been
seriously have they seriously just given up on him?
Well,
why?
Yeah, he's
Yeah. Well, no, I know they have. But I'm saying, why would you? You've never even given him a chance.
I get you. He should have gotten his shot with Dustin Byfuglien in 20. Like once Enstrom left, that should have been the spot for Sami Niku. Like,
and you know what?
If it didn't work, it didn't work. That it is what it is.
That's right.
But at least find out, right?
That's right. It's like the Victor Mete thing. It's the same thing.
That was weird though. Victor Mete had really good results in Montreal. I don't know why they dumped him.
Well, because their general manager is a player from the 80s and 90s, and their coach is a dinosaur. You know why they dumped him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Mete has always been one of my, you know, kind of keep an eye on kind of players. And the Jets drafted 6'9" Jacob Cederholm 2 picks before Mete got drafted. Just if that wants to hurt anybody a little more tonight. Cederholm has scored a professional goal in 6 seasons or something like that. So
that's Sean Day.
Yeah.
That was a weird one.
All right. Yeah.
No. Yeah.
All right.
So that's us. We come back for a nice little roundtable, and man, it was. But you know what? Again, like we said, I think I'll say it a million times and I'll say it again. Everyone fans differently, and this is the way that we do it. And this is why people listen. Like, you're not coming to our episodes expecting anything but this at this point, because this is what we do. So, thank you for listening.
Do we want to touch on Virtanen a little bit? I know we have mentioned that earlier, but with whatever is going on, I only just saw a headline. I don't know much, but obviously it's a good thing that he was suspended, I think. So if someone else has a little more details, maybe they could dive into that a little more.
Yeah. Go ahead, Lyss. Go ahead.
I'm not overly educated on the matter. I've only read an article or two that they're just kind of skimming the surface, and no one's about to slander his name without proof. But my only believe victims. People come forward, listen to them, believe them, help them, and stop assaulting women. Just that I think that's the biggest thing. People are like, oh, like this is what women should do, whatever. Stop assaulting them. Just stop it.
Yeah.
Right. That's pretty much it. You said it perfectly. I don't really have anything else much to add to that besides just believe women and be there for them, right?
Yeah, and I would say the NHL needs to get some sort of protocol program put in like the other 3 leagues have, because they don't have one, and apparently everything kind of goes one-on-one to Bettman by the end of it. Obviously, if things get to the police stage or to the charges stage, that's a different thing. But even in a situation like this, you've got to take action immediately. Props to the Canucks for doing so, for right away stepping up once the report was filed or whatever, which is, I believe, what happened. And again, I follow up exactly, believe women, and guys, stop being fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Get your shit together.
Like, believe women, but like the most important thing, like, don't commit sexual assault. Don't be a predator.
Yeah. No, 100%. Yeah, I think that's like we had talked about this slightly before. Like we wanted to just like quickly address this at the end of the episode, just because like we wanted to maintain our brand. This is something that we believe in. Us, those of us who are on the episode, those of us who aren't in the episode, this is something that we feel strongly about. So we just kind of wanted to bring that up, and we hope it all works out. And we hope that whoever suffered from these alleged actions, finds the recovery that they need, and the survivor, heals from this. And
Yes.
all the best for her.
Yep.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So,
100%.
thanks everybody for listening. We will see you all sometime soon. I know for myself, school is over now, and playoff talks are heating up and stuff. So hopefully we'll have some more content coming for you in the next couple of weeks and months. Thanks everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.